Then Jacob came safely to the city of Shechem, which is in the land of Canaan, when he came from Paddan Aram, and he pitched his tent before the city. And he bought the parcel of land where he had pitched his tent from the children of Hamor, Shechem's father, for 100 pieces of silver. Then he erected an altar there, and called it El Elohe Israel, God, the God of Israel. My name's Arthur. Thank you for joining me as we continue reading the story of Jacob. He's returned from Paddan Aram with 2 wives and their maids, 12 children, 11 boys and 1 girl, and large quantities of livestock and servants. He faced his fear of Esau receiving him, and him giving him a great gift to Esau. Esau has returned to Mount Seir, and while Jacob said, "Until I come to my Lord in Mount Seir," yet he progressed no further south, but turned west, pausing first at Succoth on the east of the Jordan, and then crossing the Jordan and coming to Shechem. At Shechem he buys some land from the residents near the city for 100 pieces of silver, and there he erects an altar to worship the Lord. This seems to be the first altar that Jacob has erected, although not the first sacrifice. A place to worship God. No doubt he wants to give thanks to God for all his goodness to him. Jacob also dug a well at Shechem. We read about that in John chapter 4 of the New Testament, when Jesus came to that well and met the woman of Samaria. For Samaria, the later capital of Israel, is Shechem, and this is still a place of significance in Israel today. But things don't turn out as well as he expects at Shechem, and we continue reading in chapter 34. Now Dinah, the daughter of Leah, whom she had borne to Jacob, went out to see the daughters of the land. And when Shechem the son of Hamor the Hivite, prince of the country, saw her, he took her and lay with her and violated her. His soul was strongly attracted to Dinah, the daughter of Jacob, and he loved the young woman and spoke kindly to the young woman. So Shechem spoke to his father Hamor, saying, "Get me this young woman as a wife." And Jacob heard that he had defiled Dinah his daughter. Now his sons were with his livestock in the field, so Jacob held his peace until they came. Then Hamor the father of Shechem went out to Jacob to speak with him. And the sons of Jacob came in from the field where they heard it, and the men were grieved and very angry, because he had done a disgraceful thing in Israel, by lying with Jacob's daughter, a thing which ought not to be done. But Hamor spoke with them, saying, "The soul of my son Shechem longs for your daughter. Please give her to him as a wife, and make marriages with us. Give your daughters to us, and take our daughters to yourselves. So you shall dwell with us, and the land shall be before you. Dwell and trade in it, and acquire possessions for yourselves in it." Then Shechem said to her father and her brothers, "Let me find favour in your eyes, and whatever you say to me I will give. Ask me ever so much dowry and gift, and I will give according to what you say to me, but give me the young woman as a wife." So we have years passing by, for Dinah was probably only 2 years old when she came to that area, but now she's grown up. She's probably 16 or 18 or something, a beautiful young lady, and her brothers, most of them in their 20s, up to maybe 12 years older. Living in a household of men, she seeks friendship with other girls and goes and visits the daughters of the land. Unfortunately, the Canaanites have a completely different attitude to morality, to God's people. And we know from their religion that sex was a great feature of their religion. And so when Hamor, the prince of the land, sees this beautiful young lady, he takes her and lies with her. It seems it's quite acceptable in their culture to do so. And he is strongly attached to Dinah. He loves her. He wants to marry her. And so he asks his father to arrange a marriage. And the father is quite happy to arrange a marriage for their daughters to be married to the Israelites and the Israelites to marry to them. The Israelites have done them no harm. They are happy to have them in their vicinity and in their community. So it's obvious that Jacob is seeking peace with his neighbours and not trouble. And so Shechem's father Hamor goes out to speak to Jacob. Jacob withholds with his answer until the sons return, but the sons are highly offended. They are very angry. They are very upset that Shechem should do this, that they should treat their sister with such disrespect, a thing which ought not to be done in Israel. They are not at all inclined to accept the terms that Hamor offers. Give your daughters to us and take our daughters to yourselves. This is in fact the beginning of many attempts to destroy the people of God, the nation of Israel. God has promised the descendants of Jacob would maintain a testimony to him. They would be as the sand of the seas, the dust of the earth, indeed as the stars of heaven, and that through their seed all the earth would be blessed. But immediately we have pressure to intermingle them with the nations rather than them being a separate people. Attempts to integrate them and forcefully integrate them into the world have taken place repeatedly over the years. But God wants his people to be separate and distinct, that he might fulfill his word through them. And so the marvel is that these people remain distinct even to this day. Of course, Hamor knows nothing about this. They're just a group of people who are neighbours, and so he wants to integrate them into his society. No doubt also viewing the livestock that Jacob has. We continue the reading in verse 13. But the sons of Jacob answered Shechem and Hamor his father, and spoke deceitfully, because he had defiled Dinah their sister. They said to them, We cannot do this thing, to give our sister to one who is uncircumcised, for that would be a reproach to us. But on this condition we will consent to you, if you will become as we are, if every male of you is circumcised. Then we will give our daughters to you, and we will take your daughters to us, and we will dwell with you, and we will become one people. But if you will not heed us and be circumcised, then we will take our daughter and be gone. Circumcised hasn't been mentioned in relation to Jacob's children, but obviously he had circumcised his sons. Remember, this is just the second generation. Isaac, their grandfather, was the first one circumcised, as a baby 8 days old. And now Jacob has gone to Paddan Aram. The people there knew nothing about circumcision, but as his sons were born, they were circumcised, and that made them distinct as God's people, and they knew that distinction, although this was evidently an external thing to them, not so much a matter of a heart thing. But nevertheless, they had been circumcised, and they maintained that distinction. So now, when Hamor suggests that they should merge with the Israelites, the children of Israel say, well, yes, we can do that if you will become circumcised. In a sense saying, if you will follow our religion. Although they don't talk about the worship of God, they just talk about the outward act. So the challenge is placed. Will the people of Shechem become circumcised so that Prince Shechem can marry Dinah?